1 in every 3 of us in this room will ultimately die of cancer. I'm sorry, that's probably not the uplifting message you were hoping to hear tonight. But the fact is, despite decades of excellent cancer research and some real breakthroughs that have led to an increase in the lifetime of people with metastatic cancer, a cure to cancer is still nowhere to be seen on the horizon. And the reason is, cancer is this incredibly robust living thing. It's made of our cells. They've been modified genetically by mistakes in the DNA to start to grow uncontrollably and to become cancer. And they have some of the properties that make living populations very robust. As they grow, they spread over parts of your body. That makes surgery nearly impossible, or at least extraordinarily difficult in later stages of cancer. But what's even worse is that as the cancer grows, the cells are becoming genetically more diverse. So by the time cancer is at its later stages, there will always be some population of cells that can resist any type of therapy that's been applied. So one argument would be, well, look, let's catch cancer at some earlier stage. If you can catch it when it's still small and localized, it can be removed with surgery, and that can be completely curative. You can actually be cured of cancer at that stage. So that's where screening and early detection come in. Now, we have colonoscopies, we have mammograms. There's methods right now to screen for cancer, and clearly it's not enough. Okay, we still end up with late-stage cancers being diagnosed at the late stage when it's really too late for them to be treated. So we need to do more. So what do we do? Well, we have methods that can detect cancer. There's MRI scans, there's medical imaging. And those are outstanding methods, and they can detect and help you localize cancers, but can they be used for screening? And the answer is probably no, for 2 reasons. One is that they're actually quite expensive. Our healthcare system can't afford to give all of us, once we reach a certain age, a full-body MRI scan. It's too much. But what's even worse, even if we can make this cheaper, those scans tend to detect masses, and it's as likely as not that if you get a full-body MRI scan past a certain age, you'll pick up some kind of mass that could be benign, so it could be a false alarm. That's actually more likely to happen than detecting a real tumor. So none of that sounds very good, but I do have a glimmer of hope that I can pass on to you, and it's around something that my team at UBC is incredibly passionate about. It's something called circulating tumor DNA. It turns out, this is a wonderful thing, that even the smallest tumors, as long as they're actively growing, and it's important that they have to be active for this to be happening, will shed a little bit of their DNA into the bloodstream. Now, this DNA is marked with the same genetic mistakes that made that tissue cancerous in the first place. So in theory, you could take modern DNA sequencing technology, take a tube of blood from an individual, and sequence all the DNA to look for those mistakes and detect and even say something about any potential tumors that that person might be harboring. In theory. In practice, of course, things are never that easy. It turns out the cancer DNA is almost identical to normal DNA. It might differ in 5 or 6 letters out of 3 billion. On top of that, in a tube of blood, you might have 2, 3, 4 molecules of cancer DNA and tens of thousands of molecules of normal DNA. So it is truly like a needle in a haystack, except it's not even a needle. It's like another strand of hay with a little black dot on it. It's almost an impossible problem for DNA sequencing. That's the problem, though, that I think we've solved at UBC. So we found a way to separate cancer DNA from normal DNA. We use a combination of oscillating electric fields synchronized with temperature oscillations in a gel where we have put in our own synthetic DNA that recognize our cancer mutations. What you're seeing on this video is 2 bands of DNA that we've colored for the purpose of the video only. The green band is cancer DNA, the red band is normal. And you can see them separate. Those 2 bands of DNA differ by 1 letter. And you get this incredible separation. This is at the core of our technology. This is what allows us to make a blood test that can actually detect as few as 1 or 2 molecules of cancer DNA in a tube of blood. It's this technology that we've now bent our entire company around. This is Boreal Genomics. It's a company that a handful of us out of engineering physics at UBC started some years ago. We didn't know we'd work on cancer. We actually started the company to work in forensics and soil research, but this is the beauty of academic research. Sometimes you make unexpected discoveries along the way. And as soon as we figured out that we had technology that could actually detect cancer DNA in blood, we stopped everything else we were doing and bent the entire company to that purpose. So now we actually have a blood test for cancer. As of today, we're partnering with clinical labs around the world that will ultimately offer this test to doctors and to you. And we've also recently partnered with the BC Cancer Agency to start the first clinical trial for a test of this type. We're testing 1,000 people in the Lower Mainland through the BC Generations Project. Those 1,000 people are going to take our test. If they show us positive for cancer DNA on our test, we're going to, at our expense, then use medical imaging to track down where that cancer may be and confirm that our test is actually correct. We've done some population modeling that shows if we offer this test today, even at the current performance, and we know it will improve over time, but even at today's performance, it would save about 1 million lives within the Canadian population alone. We know this isn't a cure to cancer, but we're confident this is a method that would allow more of us, if we're unfortunate enough to have cancer, to detect it early enough to be cured. Thank you.